main part of the church, and this is something quite profound up here actually. We spoke about, briefly, about the maid, and I truly believe the maid to be Anne. So I'm just going to ask a minute, and we might get some EVP later, but Anne, if you're here, perhaps you'd like to do something to let us know that you're here. Any type of sign or anything just to show us that you're here. Why, really, I guess. There's a sense of feeling that changes, and it's just changed. I don't know whether anyone else picked up on that, but it has just started to change. So perhaps if someone could just let us know that you're here. And it's almost like that there's a deepness of oxygen. The oxygen has changed. It's almost like it's a very different type of thing. It's changed, very much so. Would you like to speak with us and share something? We've come all this way to see you. Where the other Nevilles are, because I couldn't see any other Nevilles in the graveyard. I only saw George. He's quite recent. It was more John. John Neville I was looking for. See, the story's also about the man and his dog that travels from the crossroads in the village right up and roams the graveyard, haunting fearful souls. I think there's an element of truth to that in the myth and legend here. But I think it's more about the fact that this is a spiritual echo of the past, really. I mean, that's a way of looking at things as spiritual echoes, because every carbon product carries a biochemistry, a bioelectricity. And I don't know what you believe, but I know what I believe, and I know what I've researched over many, many years, is that when you talk to people, you're not always talking to your grandma that's passed over. You're not talking to your Uncle John, your Uncle Joe that's passed over. In fact, what you're generally talking to is it's an echo of the past. It's a spiritual echo. You know? And those echoes are timeless. They don't really work on the earthly world of past, present and future. Everything's the same, and they can pretty much duck and dive into each of them as they choose. And that's what my life research has been about, really, is are you really speaking to your dead aunt or your dead mother or your dead father? In reality, most of the time, I don't think you are. I think we need to take a really close, sharp look at that to see, well, if it isn't, how do they know these things? Well, if time's timeless, if there's no such thing as time in the world of spiritual echoes, then they can see whatever it is, can see you for all your memories at the flick of a switch, at the jump of a button, at the hop of a hoop. They can see it straight away. They don't need to, and they can present themselves to you. That makes you think that it's your father. That makes you think that your father's here. But it's no different to you in a modern world accessing a computer to access information. It's the same principle. Now that sounds crazy to most people. But if you'd have said back in the 1800s to someone that you'll be putting information and pressing buttons and storing information, and that you wouldn't be riding a horse, that you'd be in a car driving around at over 80, 90 miles per hour, you'd probably been killed and murdered for witchcraft. What nonsense is this? So the human mind only allows itself to live in the present, what it calls the present. It doesn't allow itself to wander away from that. It's so imprisoned. And that's what I think a lot of these echoes are. They're almost like being prisoners. They're trapped in this void of timeless space. And they don't seem to go anywhere. So the man and his dog. Is it true? I believe it's an echo of the past. I believe perhaps something happened there to that gentleman. The dog, is it really a dog? Or is it the fen tiger, as Cambridgeshire would have you say? Is it the shook? You know, all these stories, if we start to look at all the myths and legends of East Anglia as a whole, of Mercia, East Anglia, those districts of the old days, we start to put the jigsaw together and say, well, actually, hang on, they're not different, they're all one and the same. It's all the same story, but it's slightly modified to suit the purpose of the time. No different than that.